All right, so the lesson that I learned from this, I kind of touched on a minute ago, but it has to deal with insecurity, and that's something that we all face and we all deal with. And I've mentioned before about how one of my insecurities on previous episodes is my weight, and how every time I walk past the mirror, I'm looking at that. Anytime I'm in pictures, it's something I think about. Like, it's something that is a massive insecurity for me, and sort of my idea of what I look like compared to what everybody else thinks I look like, or the fact that no one cares or no one is noticing anything. But it's always such an important thing. It's always so top of mind for me. But in this instance with the customer, is that I let my insecurities drive me to make a decision that was plain as day, probably not the right decision. And maybe my intentions were good and I was trying to do something funny or fun or whatever. But because I was nervous about my inability to hack it as a salesperson and my inability to build those relationships and my reluctancy that they would see me maybe as a fraud, kind of that imposter syndrome, that I was trying to shortcut the line. And here I was buying gifts that were, number one, inappropriate, and number two, unnecessary. And not that you can't, buy one of your customers or a friend or something like that a gift. But the reasoning behind it for me was clear that I was scared. I was nervous that I wasn't going to be able to continue to build the relationship. And I was trying to find that silver bullet to get there. And the silver bullet to get there, right, is just to do the work, to be there day in and day out. And the only times that in my life, and maybe you have dealt with this as well, the only times in my life that I have felt where I truly made mistakes was, number one, when I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my instincts. I didn't trust my gut. When in those situations, when I knew I should just do the thing and I didn't because I didn't trust myself, those were situations that I usually ended up regretting. And then the other types of situations that I ended up regretting were situations where I let an outside factor such as an insecurity or my ego or something like that drive a decision. And I made a decision that was full of emotion and full of wants and I need this and I want this and as opposed to just making the correct decision.